Morgan Gallant live show. This month we read Gallant by Victoria Schwab. It was fabulous. For those of you who didn't join us, we'll be giving a brief synopsis to let you in. But before we start talking about Gallant, we wanted to quickly touch on what our next month's book of the month will be. Do we have it on hand?
I do. It's Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers.
Ooh. What's it about?
Do you actually want a synopsis or you're going to yell at me?
I actually do, because I don't even know.
I feel like I heard it. Like I saw it on a viral TikTok. That
okay, well, I'm going to give you a synopsis, and then you're going to yell at me that it's a spoiler, but we'll do it anyways.
Let's do it.
So this is an adult romance, but it kind of has a coming of age vibe to it, because you can still be kind of a lost adult in your 20s. It's about a woman who has just finished her PhD, and she is feeling kind of lost and like directionless. She doesn't know exactly what she wants to do next. She goes to Vegas on like a girls' trip with some of her friends to like celebrate, and she drunkenly gets married to this woman that she doesn't know at all. And she ends up going to New York with this woman to spend the summer there and kind of figure out what she's doing with her life.
Ooh.
I did hear about this. So I'm excited about it. I like that it's like a girl in her 20s finding herself, because that is like the kind of I enjoy. Yeah. And yeah, Cassie King, like back when the book came out, did like a really viral TikTok where she was like, so I just went to Vegas and I accidentally got married. And yeah, it showed up on my feed and I was like, this is Cassie. Like, I don't know if you guys ever like knew Cassie King from early YouTube.
I follow her like bookstore that she works for.
Yeah.
I've seen multiple TikToks like that where it's just a person acting like the premise.
This was like the first one to go viral. Like it was a long time ago. It was the first time I'd seen it done, and I was like, oh, that's a great idea.
It drives me crazy because I get like so invested in the story, and they're like, it's not true, it's a book, and I'm like, oh.
I had a plan like from when Better Together came out to do one for Better Together. I still should do it because like, why not?
Usually if there's like a book talk hashtag, I'll just like swipe by because I know it's not going to be real. I'm like, yeah, no, sorry.
Well, I wouldn't book talk hashtag.
Don't put book talk hashtag or I will skip it.
But yeah, so that's our next month's book, Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. I was going to say Maura Matson. I don't know her last name.
We don't have a live show date yet, but follow Booksplosion on Twitter and Instagram for beautiful pictures.
Yes.
And also, the live show date will be announced as soon as we know it.
Yeah. We'll probably confirm it after this live show.
Yeah,
so.
it'll come out next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's like real quick. Who can give us a 1-2 sentence Gallant synop? Nobody?
Do I have to do it again?
I think you're the best at it.
You're so good at it, Kat.
This is about an orphan named Olivia Pryor who has grown up in like this orphanage school for girls. And one day she gets a letter inviting her home to this house known as Gallant, which is where her mother is from. And the only reason she knows this is because she has an old journal of her mother's that mentions that she used to live in Gallant. And it also has a warning of you'll stay safe as long as you stay away from Gallant. But, you know, Olivia is desperate to know more about herself and her family and where she came from. And when the orphanage finds out that, like, she has somewhere to go, they kind of are like, okay, go on now. And so she doesn't really have much of a choice about going to Gallant. So she goes. And once there, she discovers that no one currently in the house actually sent her this letter. So, like, why is the house calling her home? And there's, it's like an atmospheric kind of fantasy mystery.
The house is cursed.
Yeah, the house is cursed, and her family is cursed, and there's just a lot of mystery to unravel. And in Victoria Schwab fashion, it's kind of a genre mashup where it's really hard to define like exactly what this book is because it borrows so many different elements, and it's kind of a unique read in that way.
Bellamy keeps stealing my shoes one by one and eating them. That's where I left. I'm sorry. Jesse.
Did we want to also announce our October book of the month?
No, because we don't have September yet.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
We'll do them both next month.
Okay, my bad. Sorry. Got my months mixed up in my head.
No, all good.
Okay.
So let's do overall thoughts of Gallant. Jesse, kick us off.
Okay. I really loved the book. Which I was
I know you would.
Okay, but I actually was surprised that I did because when this book initially came out, like there was a lot of people, like there was a lot of mixed reviews on it. Honestly, like a lot of people were like disappointed by it, which I was like, oh, okay, well that's interesting because like normally people like love and rave about Victoria Schwab's books. So I was going in a little bit skeptical, but I liked it a lot. It's not one of those books to me that was like crazy in terms of plot or like really explored the characters in like a really deep way per se, but I loved the atmosphere and I loved that it was just kind of like a gentle fantasy journey. It just really worked for me, and I adore her writing style. She's one of my favorite writers because of the style alone. Like I just love the way that she describes things, and I really enjoyed it. Okay. Did
you buy all your copies of the book before or after reading it?
Before. We ordered all of them.
I'm glad you really liked it, and I feel like a lot of people were disappointed because Addie LaRue really like blew past her normal readership, and that book is so different. And I know she writes, all her books are completely different, and she's talked about it. Like I don't write for the same audience every time, and I think that's why there was so many mixed reviews because people who love Addie LaRue aren't necessarily going to love Gallant. It's a completely different age group. It's a completely different style. There's no romance. Like it's like very different.
I think that's the big factor is the romance element, because Gallant does not have a romance at all. And also sort of the character, like Addie
LaRue, not character driven,
right?
Yeah. And Gallant is not as much focused on character. It's more atmospheric and about the mystery and unraveling it. Also quite a difference in the length of the books. So I see why not everyone who loves Addie would love Gallant, but I think that people who have read more of Victoria Schwab's books would love Gallant because I felt like echoes of a lot of her previous works in this book. Like the sort of I don't want to say anything too spoilery, but like the sort of the doorway gateway element reminds me of Shades of London. Is it called Shades of London?
Darker Shades of Magic. A Darker Shade of Magic?
Shades of Magic? Is it Shades of Magic?
Shades of Magic? Yeah. Darker Shade of Magic, yeah. And then elements of like the atmosphere and the setting where it's kind of almost like a gothic horror at times.
Yeah, that's
what sort of like a vaguely English time period, uncertain kind of vibe to it. Is very much like her debut novel, Near Witch. And I mean, there were even almost like sort of echoes of what's her duology from Disney Hyperion?
The Archived?
Archived. Yeah.
I thought that too. Yeah, I felt that as well.
Yeah, so I felt a lot of echoes of her previous work. So I think if you're a Victoria Schwab fan, you will enjoy this. If you're not looking for like a character study or a romance, like if you like other elements of her writing, then you'll enjoy this.
Definitely.
Yeah. I feel like the writing, as always, was like gorgeous. But yeah, I'm not an atmospheric read person. Like when I read like the Night Circus, it was the same sort of ordeal where it was like, where's all the character stuff? Like, this is what I'm here for. And it was the same thing with Gallant, where I kind of felt removed from it. Like I could appreciate the writing and the story, but like I didn't feel attached to it because it's very much about what's happening, not the characters and like their relationships. Like I liked my favorite part of it was like kind of the budding relationship between Matthew and Olivia. I wish there was more like family stuff.
Yeah.
Like I love this scene. I think my favorite scene was like them at the piano.
I was gonna say, don't say anything too spoilery.
No, I was just saying them at the piano together.
Yeah.
But
I think that is like one of my like small critiques, is that there was just moments where I was like, I just need like a little bit more from this, just a little bit, you know, a little bit more fleshing out, I guess. But.
Yeah. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of like a haunted Downton Abbey sort of feel, like the manor.
How was you listened to the audio? How was it performance-wise?
I did. It was good, but it was like an old Englishman. I think it's the same guy that reads A Darker Shade of Magic, and his voice kind of like lulls me, you know, like it doesn't take me and it makes me like, oh, sleep. Like, A Darker Shade of Magic, I've started it, but like I haven't gotten into it because his voice doesn't like catch me as much. And as soon as it started, I was like, oh, it's the same guy. The same old British man voice. But it was good. It's good. It's just like not my cup of tea of voice in terms of like getting me like while I'm reading.
See, it is my cup of tea in voice, in not all the time though. Like I would have enjoyed this more
I like that
if I had been more in the mood for it. Like it's a very good book and I did really enjoy it. But right now it's like so hot that I'm constantly melting, and like my single brain cell only wants bantery rom-coms, and that's like
all I want right now too.
This is the opposite of a bantery rom-com.
No
really banter, no rom, no com. But like I have wide taste in books, so like I do love this kind of book. I just feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I read it like in October or November.
It's like you appreciate it, but it's just not what you're in the mood for currently.
Yeah. I mean, like again, I can appreciate it, but like I always love a rom, and some com and some character, like more dialogue. Again, there's like very little dialogue. She doesn't speak, and like it was fascinating. Oh wait, never mind, spoiler. I mean, like the story though was like fascinating and stuff. I just thought like for me it was like drier than I wanted it to be in terms of like character.
Yeah, the mystery was really good though. Like balancing a mystery like this can be tricky because you want to like dangle enough that like we're intrigued and we have questions, but it doesn't feel like frustrating that we have to wait until the very end to get answers. And I think
it's not very long.
Yeah, it's a pretty short book. I read it over the course of like maybe 5 hours. Like it's a pretty quick read.
Yeah.
But like it was, you know, Victoria Schwab's books tend to have kind of a slower, gradual beginning as she like builds everything and lays down the pieces. But then the payoff tends to be like really worth it.
Right.
Let's move on to spoilers now. Let's talk about your favorite parts of the book, the pieces that surprised you the most. Start us off, Jesseth.
Well, I was gonna say like one of like the big elements of the book that I kind of liked, I guess, is like the ending and how like, of course they didn't defeat death because death can't be defeated. I don't know. I just like kind of liked that idea. And I liked how kind of open-ended it was too. Like we don't really know where they go from here, I guess. So
that element also reminded me of Addie LaRue.
Yeah.
Like the villain is like not defeated, but there's an open-ended element to it of like where do they go from here?
Right.
You know what? It really surprised me. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because Victoria has such a wide fan base, but because of the open-ended ending, I feel like young adults just like a lot of the time are upset by that. You know, it's like more of an adult preference.
Right.
And it surprised me that it's like still on the list. So like people are still loving it. So maybe young adults are like making their more open-ended endings. Yeah, I thought for a second that they were just all going to die. Yeah, there was so little left. I was like, oh my God, death is just going to like take over the world.
I mean, I thought that too, and it was one of the rare situations where I was going to be like, I would be okay if our protagonist died at the end of this book.
I was like,
as long as she died, like knowing that we locked death back away, and like the gate was sealed and all the priors were dead. It could never be opened again. Like if she died, that I would have been okay with it.
I thought it was gonna just be out in the open, and it was like she was just saying like, "This is our Earth now. We're all dying. Climate change has hit. We did it."
No.
Yeah, I was like, "Wow, this is depressing." Because like for a second it felt like all hope was kind of lost. Like I'm surprised honestly that the ghouls were able to push him back.
Yeah.
I think that whole ending sequence was my favorite part. Like about from the moment where we find out that Thomas is not actually Thomas, and then we had like that whole like battle sequence. Yeah, I was really. I didn't see that coming at all. I was like, we're rescuing Thomas, and I'm like, oh no.
I know. I was like, wait, no, this has to be him. He just looks different. He was in the underground for 2 years.
Wait, Kat, can I ask? Was your tweet today about Gallant?
Oh no, there's no romance.
Okay, true.
What did you write?
I saw another tweet about slow burn, and I was like, you know what? Slow burn is only. My tweet said, slow burn books can't hurt you if you read them fast enough.
Oh, well, I thought because like Gallant's kind of like slow, like on the slower side a little bit.
Slow burn between cousins?
No, not like slow. They're like slow
burn. Not in a romance way, but like in a slow burn plot kind of way.
Yeah, like
I get what you're saying.
Slower moving, not like sorry.
I get what you're saying, but I was 100% tweeting about binge reading a romance, which is what my next read is going to be. Because that's the mood I'm in.
I do not support incest. That's not what I was saying. I did not say that. Don't twist my words. No.
I wasn't meaning to twist anything. It just was like, what are you talking about? For a second, I was hoping that she was also going to find someone to fall in love with on the other side. Like, repeat the mothers.
I guess like the mother, technically.
Yeah. Because that was like something I was not expecting. Because I was like, when we learned that she was communicating through the fence, I was like, oh, is there like a whole world over there? Like, we just don't like see the people and stuff. But it was the shade that was missing. Like, that was like, what?
Like, I almost would rather read their romance.
Literally same. I was like, how did that work? Like, what was like the situation with like physical touch?
It's like a forbidden romance. Like he saved her in his shadow world.
I know.
And then she got him out of the world and they went on the run.
I know. It's just like, how did that work?
I'd love to read that.
Yeah. Like, how did she get him out? Like, if he can't live in that world, and like watching him wither away would have been like heartbreaking. And like, they're pregnant. Like, what's going to come out of you? Like a vampire baby? Like, what is it?
No.
The drama. And then it should end with death stealing the baby.
No.
And
Wow.
then
it would end tragically. How it's like a prequel.
It would be like Harry Potter. Like they drop her on the orphanage steps.
Yeah, and then she goes off somewhere and dies, or goes home and dies, or whatever.
Yeah,
like, it would end tragically.
It's like the start of Voldemort.
It would be a canon prequel.
Yeah. Yeah, but like evil baby orphanage prequel. Like yeah. Anyway, we got on a tangent. This should be your next book, Victoria.
I wonder if like this feels like a standalone.
It does.
I almost want more because I'm also really curious about Olivia's abilities. And also like now she's the last prior working the gate. Like, is she going to never have kids so that there are no more priors, and like so she is the last one to like close the gate.
Honestly, it feels like anything else would be very depressing. Like it could only end poorly. She's all alone. Like she had to bring in somebody to this torturous landscape. Like it doesn't sound fun. Or she'd have to pull out a shade and like have a baby.
It sounds like her future is still depressing because her life is going to be like what Matthew's was over the last few years, just wasting away, like tormented in his sleep and his dreams. So to the point where she has to be like shackled in her sleep, and like it's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing. Like we don't want to see that end. That's why she doesn't tell it to us. She's gonna learn how to play piano. That's the happiest part of this. That's how she had to end it with the ghost teaching her piano. So character-wise, who's your favorite?
Annabelle.
Mine was Matthew.
Silence. What?
I feel really bad for Matthew. Like, he's just watching his whole family like destroy themselves. I just want to get him out of there. Like, go leave now. Olivia's here. Switch off.
I guess Olivia was my favorite character, but
Olivia's a little feral. You could tell that like a shadow was her father.
I liked it though. I liked that about her.
I mean, like it was a fun character trait, but like if she was pushed to, I feel like she would slit someone's throat and be like, "Sorry, you asked for it."
Oops.
I mean, kind of like in one of the first chapters, in one of the early pages,
when she got the bugs on a girl in the middle of the night, a jar of bugs.
There was that, but I think she deserved it for like tearing apart her mother's journal.
Yeah.
Oh, but like bugs?
I mean, no one else is gonna fuck with her after that.
Just cut her hair or something.
Oh my gosh.
It resulted in that anyways, 2 for 1.
Like make her pee her pants. Like this is horrible.
She shouldn't have stolen her mom's journal and ripped out pages.
She didn't know what it was. She's just a child.
She shouldn't have. Even if she stole it and was just reading it for the lols, like she still shouldn't have ripped out the pages. Destroying someone's personal property.
It is like let the teachers do something.
They weren't gonna do anything.
Okay, this back and forth is never gonna end. You guys are both in timeout. You can sit there and think about this. Okay, guys. So our next point we're gonna talk about.
Now it's like that quote where it's like, I believe in women's rights and also women's wrongs. Like I fully support her going feral on those evil classmates.
Sorry, that very brief interruption was me opening the page. So what did you say, Jesse?
I knew it was you.
Sorry. I resisted a very long time. I haven't been able to see the chat the entire time. But okay, so what was your favorite scene in the book? And what no one talked about like what scene surprised them? Like, whoa. Like, whoa.
I mean, for me again, it was the scene where we find out that Thomas isn't really Thomas. Like that whole sequence of like when I mean, like from a storytelling perspective, looking back on it, it's inevitable that Death has to escape, and we have to push him back in. Right. It can't just be about preventing it. Like the worst has to happen, and then we have to shove him back. But for some reason, I still was like not expecting that. I was thinking that they were going to be able to keep him locked in. But it reminds me of how I felt after Avengers
Endgame.
The one was Endgame the last one?
Yeah, Infinity War. You're talking about
Infinity War, yeah. Where I was like, oh, we got to stop him before he does the thing. But like, of course, storytelling wise, he has to do the thing. Yeah. And it's like, oh shit, he did the thing. But like, it has to happen for the story. So, Death had to escape, but I'm glad we put him back.
What about you,
Although
Jessica?
again, I kind of wouldn't have minded if everyone had died putting him back. Like that would have almost been a less depressing ending than like
Yeah, because now she has to live like this. Like
yeah, with a slow withering away. I mean, also like she doesn't want to die. Like even if her life is just living in this manner, like at least she gets a chance to live and do something. But still, like I almost wanted them all to die.
Oh my god.
yeah, it's like it feels good when like you see an author like make that bold move and be like, yeah, I did that.
And the thing is, I feel like that move, like in some books, you know, the book that can I spoil this? It's been 10 years. Is it okay if I spoil?
Which book? Allegiant?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think the problem with that is that dystopian as a genre had so many romance expectations tied to it. And with romance, you expect a happily ever after. And like since dystopian, especially that like flavor of dystopian was kind of so new, like the genre conventions weren't like hard and firm. So that's why Veronica Roth could kind of get away with she dies at the end. But like this book has no romance element. Like it has horror and mystery.
Yeah, she could have gotten away with it.
She could have gotten away with killing them all.
Yeah. With Allegiant, I think also one of the big problems was just that like the switching point of views was like
that was
not the best. Yeah, I feel like we should have just stayed with Triss throughout the whole thing.
The voices were too much the
Too
same.
similar, yeah. But what was I just gonna say? I've been wanting like Cassie to do this forever with I really wanted it to happen in the Dark Artifice. I just wanted everyone to die.
You've talked about this. Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. I just thought it would be a grand ending. I know everyone would riot. I know everyone just hates when she kills literally anyone. So of course, like I think the fear that would strike to make a decision as like such a happy ending author would be just too intense. But I really wanted it.
Has she really like made it? Well, we can't talk about this on
her books tend to end with almost everyone paired off and happy.
I mean, like
I was also waiting for something different, like the main ship of Dark Artifices. Well, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, we're all older, so like I feel like we could handle it now. Like her whole fan base is older. We could handle it,
especially with so many people like sort of dark romances, where it's romance where one of the characters is kind of villainous. And I think it's okay if like we kill one of them off, especially if they're kind of villainous.
Yeah, I thought it just made so much sense for the Dark Artifices and the themes running through it of like Annabelle and what's her other lover guy. I don't want to say his name actually. And like the themes with Parabati and like the forbidden romance. I just thought it was like the perfect.
I almost wonder if she like doesn't want to make a bold move like that because of like the backlash.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like, receives backlash with like random stuff all the time, so it's like
I know. Like she got
put herself through that.
From any death, she gets like so much intense hate. So like I understand not doing it, but I just think it just like for the story, I feel like it would have been like the perfect punch. Yeah.
Well, what if she's gonna do something like that in her new adult series?
Maybe she will. I mean, like
I feel like that might be a new enough venture to like, that she actually gets to experiment and play around with.
Yeah,
she can't do because of like not only genre expectations but audience expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like weird like parameters you have to meet for a YA audience because the mindset is so like it needs a happy ending. Like you're young and you need that hope, and like to destroy it can get like it destroys the book for you. And like I remember feeling that way. So I understand it.
But I think that's kind of interesting because I've seen a flux of like YA books that are super angsty and have like at best bittersweet endings.
Which ones are you specifically
I can't talk about it.
Is it Mockingjay?
I mean, that's kind of one of them.
It is, and like there was a lot of backlash for Mockingjay, but now I look at it and I'm like, it was a perfect.
Yeah, I love that.
It's how it had to end. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so sad. But like I watch those movies now and I'm like, they did an amazing job with these movies.
Yeah.
Like they're perfect. And like, especially looking at it now and how it just like reflects the sad state of so many things in our lives, in our like just in our whole lifespan. But but then do you remember watching it the first time? I mean, like that was just so depressing. Like I couldn't appreciate it as much.
And I mean, again, I think part of that is like what I mentioned about genre expectations.
Yeah.
And so many of us had it tied in with romance because so many of these books were marketed as like the romance. Like we're so emphasized because love triangles were all the rage, and like Twilight helped birth a lot of the audience that read
all of this.
And so like so many people were expecting like a happy ending, and like with these dystopian books, like this is as happy as it gets, and you're just gonna have to accept that.
Yeah, like Peeta. Man, we still get an epilogue with Peeta and Katniss, and that gives you like the little spark that you need to be like okay at the end.
Bittersweet, hopeful kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the book when I finished it, and then I remember hearing so many people be like, "Oh, Mockingjay."
God. Actually, I can name a couple books that do have like more sad, bittersweet endings. John Green.
Looking for Alaska.
Stars.
Looking for Alaska. The Fault in all John Green books.
All of his books, The Paper Talons, they all do.
Also, one more recently that we all read was Instructions for Dancing by Nicola.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that, but you were upset about it.
I was upset about it.
I remember that live show.
I spent the whole time ranting about romance expectations.
I thought you were going to say the Anthropocene review. And I was like, did that have a bittersweet end?
I mean, it did because it's the real world.
I just remembered one, but then you brought up the instructions and I completely lost Champion. Like a lot of the dystopian ended up having bittersweet because it was a dystopian.
Yeah.
I was very upset about Champion though, because there were too many books using that trope at the end. And I was like,
yeah. And also like, wasn't necessary. Like, did we need that? Like, did it have to be that way?
Yeah. And like,
I don't remember the details now, but it's just like, it felt like it happened like right at the end and then was like somewhat resolved like soon after. And so it just felt like a weird move to pull at the end.
Yeah. Bunton just said, I love the part about figuring out the mystery of the mom's journal. I thought the romance between the mom and dad was sad but romantic. And I really loved that reveal too. When she was like, how did you talk to my dad or whatever? I was like, the drawings! And then the mom ghoul had to be like, look. But I like that too. And then I wanted her to do the same thing. I wanted her to have a romance through the gate.
I mean, I'm okay that she didn't have one. Like, I do love romance in books, but like, not every book needs one. And this
I feel like every book does.
It seems like every book needs one. It's like actually, every book does need.
I just want like a string. Like it doesn't have to be the main focus.
That we got the parents. That was
we had the parents' romance. That was enough, right?
They were both dead.
That's your tank.
And we didn't get to read the story, so no. If they flip back and forth,
it was mentioned. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. I feel like we got a good deal of it.
No.
Not up to her standards.
There
was a romance, so
we got the most depressing parts of it. What were we talking about with Katniss and Peeta? Oh, the unhappy,
depressing, bittersweet endings.
Bittersweet endings. Yeah, I mean, like, we get them a lot more. I feel like in. I guess I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. Like the YA does do it, but just not unless it's dystopian.
I feel like.
But I mean, even those other dystopians like Champion and The Hunger Games, like they didn't end quite like Allegiant did, you know?
Yeah, they did. like the I feel like the people that go really hard in the happy endings are always the fantasy authors. Like they're because the focus is like romance and character is a main focus, and so it would hurt a lot to murder anybody for the audience. And so they like Sarah brings people back to life like the Vampire Diaries a lot. Like I feel like it looks like they're gonna die, and then it's like, oh no. And then same thing with Cassie, I guess. Even when people do die, sometimes they're like, hi.
But not really.
I feel like
I'm thinking of Clockwork Princess, where like someone died, but like somehow still there was a happy.
Okay. Well, people were like, "It's so sad," and I'm like, "No, it's not.
It's the best possible ending.
It's the best possible outcome. That one's like actually the most bittersweet, and it's beautiful. And I really think that's why a lot of people think it's her best book, because of that. Like she went there, and also she didn't have to go there. You know, like it was both." Danielle says, I also really love the ghouls trying to help her, but I really thought that her dad was going to appear and help her when she was in the shadow version of Gallant. I thought so too. And I was kind of like, if he like died, but he wasn't ever really alive, you know, like, couldn't he come back to life?
We don't really know enough about the magic system to have a grasp on that. Like how difficult would it be? Would he need the bone, the molar? Would he need that piece back to like reform him, recreate him?
Well, was that what it was? That the molar was like what he created him from?
Yeah, because all the other all the other shadows had like armor guarding the part of them that was like.
So why did she murder him then?
No, she didn't. He just wasted away, and then when all that was left was the bone, she destroyed it because it came from him. So she thought it was like. I don't know. She thought she was making a good move by destroying it.
And now it's like Olivia will never see him.
And like, well, maybe it would have been a good move. Like maybe he wouldn't have been able to be recreated the same. Because like, the death does say that like the longer a shadow has been around, the more themselves they become. So like the newer shadows don't really have personality. They're just kind of like mindless soldiers. But since her dad was like the first shadow, he sort of like developed his own sense of self. So like if he were able to like recreate him, like who's to say it would ever be him again? Because like
it's just like an AI. Like they get smarter and smarter until they can turn on you.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean I think that is a good analogy.
Yeah,
like,
they become self-aware. Yeah.
Machine learning. Yeah.
Yeah. The ghouls were interesting. Like if you look at I like that if you look at them straight on the eye, like they disappear because it takes too much energy too. It was so creepy the first time we see them. She's like, I know why they're not going in that corner. There's a dead thing over there. I thought Olivia seeing her mom as a ghoul for the first time would have had a bigger reaction, says Abby. Yeah, I mean, like, I knew we were going to see her mom, but yeah, it didn't really have that big of a thing. It was almost like, obviously, you'd be here.
Well, she also didn't realize it was her mom until later. Like, she ran into the ghoul on her, like, night sneaking around. And then the next day, when Hannah, like, gave her a photograph of her mom, she, like, realized, she's like, oh, I've seen her before. She was the ghoul last night.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you knew from like her dream. Didn't you see her mom like fully in the dream?
But that was after that had happened.
The dream sequence in the beginning when she first came there was kind of confusing me. Like I thought it was maybe that like when she goes to sleep, she's in the other world and she like can see the people who have died or something. But it was just the death manipulating them all the time.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was like he was giving Matthew, like he was tormenting Matthew with like terrible dreams. But he still thought that he could like manipulate and use Olivia in other ways. So like he wasn't tormenting her. He was tormenting her in a different way with the dreams he was giving her.
Yeah.
Olivia's whole thing was so sad. Like she was so excited to like finally have a family, and they were like, "Get out of here." She's like, "I literally have nowhere else to go. So please."
Did you picture your sister as you were reading it?
No. She was like, definitely not.
I think you get to a point where like you read so many books that these names don't faze you anymore. Like Jesse, you read This Is Not the Jess Show? Did that ever trip you?
I pictured myself the whole time with a wig on. Yeah.
And how many characters are named like Kat or Katie?
Yeah.
So fucking
For
many.
you all the time.
I know. And
Kat is
Christy,
the most.
you have so many friends named some variation of Kat or Katie.
I do. I'm just convinced that anyone named Katie, I'm like, we're gonna be good friends. But it's weird how that happens. Like, I feel like Olivia like only dated Brian. Seriously, like my cousin who's married to a Kenny only seriously dated Kennys. Like, it just happens. Like, you find people that like you're friends with that have the same name, and like, or people date people with the same name, and it like makes me believe in like weird things. Like,
there was one point, it was at maybe it was at like one of the last VidCons that we all went to, where we were in the room and we realized that like it was me, you, Christine, I think Jesse, you were there too, but you weren't a part of this. And it was also Maureen and Kathleen, and we were just like, all of our names end in the same way, like the E. Like, there's too many girls in this room whose name ends with Ian.
it's weird. And it's like, also, I feel like it's weird that like I like Jesse and Jenna are both born on the same day, and they're both like two of my really close friends. And then like Jenna has another one of her close friends born on my birthday, and it's weird. It just like makes me believe in like people born on certain dates are like more compatible as friends, and like it's so strange.
That's astrology.
I know. That's the only reason that I'm like, maybe astrology has something.
Maybe something's going on there.
But it's weird. Like, I feel like so many of my friends are like, Kat, you're like the outlier that's born in like the winter, but everyone else is born in the summer. Like, it's like, and then there's Natasha in March, but like a lot of people are born in like June, July, and August that I know. Yeah, it's weird. Weird shit. I don't know. This book feels like a Scorpio book to me.
I can vibe with that.
I don't know enough about Scorpios to know.
I just know Olivia.
You're like mysterious and moody.
Yeah, and I know that's why I know about Scorpios, because Olivia is a Scorpio, and Olivia is the name of the book, so it makes sense.
You have a point.
I do have a point. Let's see here.
I mean, I agree with your thing about people being born in the summer, because I'm an outlier in my own family. Like, my mom, sister, and brother are all born in August.
Yeah. I mean, one of my cousins is born on my birthday. Like, a lot of my cousins are born in August. My nana and my uncle, everyone's born in August. So strange. But anyway, getting back on topic. Was there any part of this that like creeped you out?
I mean,
I wasn't
the beginning, the first time we're seeing the ghouls and like kind of get introduced to that element. It wasn't like I wasn't like super creeped out, but it was just sort of ooh, this book has like a creepy element to it kind of thing.
Same. I was never like creeped out, but I just like felt like the eerie vibes, I guess.
Yeah.
More darkness.
I started like listening to the audiobook like more intensely right after I saw Nope, and I was already like super creeped out by Nope. That's the new Jordan Peele movie. It was good. But and then I like started this and I was like, oh gosh, is this a horror? Like, and I was like, I had to switch to a rom-com for that night because I needed to calm down after Nope.
Yeah, so I feel like this book is kind of like light horror. Like there are like,
light horror.
It's not like a very strong horror. It reminds me of gothic horror, like the elements of like, you know, the haunted manor and got some like Jane Eyre vibes of like the girl going from the orphanage to like this manor that's haunted and like mysterious things are happening all around. But it wasn't it wasn't a scary book. It was more of an atmospheric thing than like something designed to like scare you.
Is there a book that like really did scare you? Because do you remember Mara Dyer that scared me? Like reading it at night, I was like
I don't remember. Mara Dyer didn't scare me, but I also was like really put off of that series from the final book. It was like not good. So
well,
like
I never finished the final one.
You don't need to.
But like the first and second were really good. Like the second was great. I remember the first one was good. And the first
scared me, and it was like scary, but also like a thriller. The Call by Patro Gallant.
Oh, I liked that scary. That was scared me, but like in a good way.
It was like a horror thriller.
Yeah.
But like it was so intense, and like you genuinely feared for the life of every character.
Oh my god! And they would just murder people all the time, or like they'd come back with like a hole in their body and like be
no one was safe.
Like,
it was a thrilling ride.
It was. I just love that concept so much. It was like so horrifying, but like in the most like bold storytelling decision. Yeah.
I feel like we talked about this way back when we read it, but it's the book that came the closest to the Hunger Games since the Hunger Games, of that sort of like breathless feeling. Like it's so gripping and you can't put it down. Because you're like so captivated and like you feel like no one is safe and like anyone can die at any time.
And like they just come back with these horrifying, like disgusting manipulations to their body. Like it was so scary.
The body horror element was I don't usually like that in books because it creeps me out and I just don't like reading about it. But like the Call did it so well.
Yeah. Yeah, Mara Dyer was more like mentally really scary. Like stuff would happen in the house at night and like you wouldn't know if it's real or if she's like going crazy.
It was a psychological element.
Yeah, that was really scary. Danielle says she was creeped out by the ghoul under the bed because it's such a stereotypical childhood fear, and Olivia has to live knowing there are really things under her bed. Like she's like so used to it by the time that we're reading that like we don't even get scared because she doesn't get scared. She's just like, oh, something moved. There's a ghoul here. Hey.
I think that was another element that made it so it didn't feel as creepy because Olivia treated them as just like, yeah, the ghoul's here again. Like it wasn't a big deal to her.
Yeah. She's like, can you just leave? I don't know, just leave.
Yeah.
And like the ghouls were actually like her friends almost because it was her family members like trying to help her. So it became like, oh, the ghouls are good. So where's the ghoul right now? We need one to keep us company. Yeah, the scariest was death.
Yeah.
Did not like that guy. Did not like that guy. All right. Well, if anyone in the chat has like a topic we haven't touched on and you'd like us to, shout it out right now while we're going to recap really quickly our book of the month for August, which is Honey Girl. Very exciting. It's going to be like complete opposite. I think it's going to be very character driven and fun. Like a Vegas marriage that she just was like, what happened? I accidentally am married now. What am I doing? Find yourself book is going to be a fun time. And I think it came out in 2020. There's a lot of excitement about it then. And
was it 2020 or 21? I know it was a book of the month book.
I'm pretty sure it was either early 2021 but I think it was 2020. I remember promoting it.
No, it was 2021.
Okay, so I remember like pre-ordering like the pre-order campaign coming up on my feed in 2020.
I feel like it came out like in January 2021.
Yeah, it was early because we were talking about it in 2020. So yeah, exciting stuff. I've been wanting to read it since I saw people talking about it. It's been a long time. We're finally.
It's a short book. It's less than 300 pages.
We love a short book in the summer and at any time. Actually, I love a short book.
Yeah, it should be a pretty quick, fun read.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the audiobook. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you join us next month. And next month we'll be announcing The next 2-month book of the month. I'm very excited about our October book of the month. We already have it nailed down. It's a sequel to something that we all loved. So,
and that we read last year. See if you can figure it out.
yeah. My name's Christine.
I'm Jesse.
I'm
We're
Scott.
Explosion, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.